guys, what is up? It's the J&J Hockey Podcast. I'm Joshua.
I'm just saying.
And today we have a really good podcast planned out for you guys. We will be doing first the award finalists, and then we will be talking about the Seattle Kraken announcement. We can officially say Kraken as they have officially announced that is their name. But first, let's hop into the award finalists, starting with the Calder Trophy. Now, you guys have heard us debate Hughes and Makar many times. It's a common debate between us. And really, we feel like they're the only two major candidates. Dominic Kubalik is almost a guaranteed third. He played really well for the Hawks this year. But, Makar and Hughes were, just doing absolutely amazing. He led all rookies with goals. With 30 and was third with 46 points in 68 games this year with not strong line mates on the Hawks, and he also had the most even strength points and 157 shots on goal. So the only problem with Kubalik, I feel like, is his shooting percentage was ridiculously high. And usually that means that it'll go down, and thus you won't score as much. So I feel like he might be kind of a fluke, and for the rest of his career, he might be a 20-goal man. What do you think?
Yeah, I guess because there is guys that can score on 15 to 20% of their shots, so there's very few of them. So maybe he's a super good player, and he knows he'll be able to shoot like that for the rest of his career, but most likely he'll be kind of a mid-tier, middle six guy.
Right. Alright, meanwhile with Quinn Hughes, he led all rookies in points with 53 and assists with 45. Only 8 goals, so Kel Makar and Dominic Kubalik kind of dominated him in that area. He was a -10, not great, but playing on the defensively loose Vancouver Canucks, and then only 22 penalty minutes, so he might have even been a candidate for the Lady Bang. Meanwhile, Cale Makar, let me just bring up his stats here, is obviously he's kind of the guy that we expect to win, right? And it made sense due to his stats. He had 12 goals, 38 assists, and 50 points in just 57 games. So best points per game among, I think, all rookies. Plus 12, so far better plus minus. And then only 12 penalty minutes, so another possible candidate for the Lady Bang as well. So looking at these stats, it's Makar versus Hughes. I feel like this year, another important stat to consider too is that Hughes had more ice time. He was 5 seconds behind the rookie league leader Ethan Bear of the Edmonton Oilers, with 23 minutes and 58 seconds for Bear, and so that's 28 minutes and 53 seconds for Hughes. It's a really tough argument. If you wanted to go off of offensive production, you'd probably have to go Makar, because Hughes had more assists and points, but he also had more goals, a worse points per game average, and more ice time.
Less goals, I mean, but yeah.
And less goals, yeah. So defensively, that one's tough. Based on the plus-minus numbers, Makar definitely wins, but plus-minus numbers aren't super reliable. You could just be coming off the ice, and just as you're getting to the bench, they score, but you weren't even a part of the play. But that would still be counted as a -1 against you. So I don't rely on those stats too much. They're not accurate. Because a lot of the numbers, you weren't necessarily involved in the play that happened at all, right?
Yeah, but you could technically compare them if they were on equal teams, but one player is on a team that.
Well, yeah, if
one player is on a team that was one of the best in the league.
Right. So it's not to mention the Canucks actually allowed the second most shots in the league this year with 31 on average behind the Chicago Blackhawks. So a lot. Like that's why I thought Markstrom should have been a Vezina candidate. It was 21 minutes and 58 seconds, by the way, for the ice time, not 23. Alright, so, final predictions. I'm going to say McCarr.
You already know it, I think. Same as you.
Okay. Moving on. Let's move on here to the next award. We will go the Jack Adams. So the Jack Adams finalists are Bruce Cassidy of the Boston Bruins, John Tortorella of the Columbus Blue Jackets, and Alan Vigneault of the Philadelphia Flyers. So, early thoughts?
Well, the one that I would least like to win the award is Torts, and the one that I think is the most likely to win the award is Torts. So, I mean, because he has, I don't know, if people thought that the Columbus Blue Jackets were really bad, but if you went and looked at their roster, it wasn't actually as bad as you think. Like, their decor is still intact, and they have a really solid decor, and their offense isn't the greatest, but it's not completely useless. And then Mersey did a good job in that.
Well, we talked about why you thought the Bruins coach Bruce Cassidy made it here because he already had a strong team, so it wasn't like he elevated his team like Torts did for Columbus. Well, it says here the Bruins got the best record in the NHL with a .714 points percentage, 44, 14, and 12. And they got the President's Trophy. They were 8 points ahead of the second place Lightning in the Atlantic Division, the largest margin for any division leader when the season was paused. The Bruins won the Jennings Trophy. They were they were tied for the Flyers for the 7th most goals per game at 3.24. They're second to Oilers in power play percentage and third in penalty killing percentage. So I can kind of see, because the Bruins were strong in every area. It may not have been due to Cassidy, but when you have a great, especially special teams, I feel like a good chunk of the credit should go to the coach. He's deciding who's getting out there and has to be smart. He can't just I think a lot of people think that you can just send out your best players and be done with it, but it's really not that simple. Often they'll struggle, and if you don't have a counterattack, then you're not going to be in trouble you're going to be in trouble. So, there's that. Meanwhile, for me, Torts is probably the strongest here. Columbus wasn't nearly as strong this year as Boston was. However, they had to overcome numerous injuries, including forwards Josh Anderson, Cam Atkinson, and Oliver Bjorkstrand, and also their two best players, Seth Jones and Zach Werenski, and then their backup goalie, Joonas Korpisalo. Not to mention losing Panarin, Duchesne, Dzingel, and Bobrovsky in free agency last summer. And somehow they won through their defense. 4th in goals against per game, just 2 points it's won. And they twice had point streaks of at least 10 games. So that's pretty impressive. From July 2nd to July 11th, they went 9-0-1. And so I think, honestly, that he should win it. Somehow his yelling ways have become a good kind of strategy for the Blue Jackets in particular. Alright, next is the Flyers. And he coached the Flyers to the 4th best record in the East. He was one of only 2 teams from the Metro to be safe from the play-in round with a 41, 21, and 7 record for 89 points, which was only 69 games, so that made it look a lot better. They tied Tampa for 7th in goals against per game, 2.77, and that was after ranking 29th with a different coach the year before, 3.41. This is partly due to Carter Hart's maturation, but also we all know that Alan Vigneault is more of a defensive coach. I like to think of him as a two-way. Like when he coached Vancouver, he wasn't really defensive. But there's that. So they're buying into that strategy. They were 7th in goals scored per game, proving my point, 3.21, and that was after finishing 18th the year before with, again, a different coach. The Flyers had 4 winning streaks of at least 4 games and won 9 straight from February 18th to March 7th. He's actually a 5-time finalist, and he won the award with the Canucks in 2006-07. So what do you think? I feel like Vigneault versus Tortorella. I don't think they're going to give it to Cassidy, just because they don't normally seem to give it to. They don't seem to give it to guys that had a great team to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like it's between those two.
Probably Torts.
I think they'll do Torts because after losing basically all their star players in free agency, and then they also had to deal with all the injuries, as we said. Then that's pretty impressive to get Columbus to the play-in round. So I'm gonna go Torts.
Same here.
Alright, next we got the Selke Trophy. So who is nominated for the Selke Trophy? First we got Bergeron, we got Sean Couturier, and we got Ryan O'Reilly. So I really feel like there's a few players missing. I think Anthony Cirelli of the Tampa Bay Lightning was a strong candidate. But I don't know. This is tough. We always joke around on the phone that they're going to rename the Selke Trophy the Bergeron Trophy once he retires because he wins it almost every year. He helped the Bruins allow a league-low 174 goals this year. So he led the Bruins in shifts per game, and he played an average of 18 minutes 44 seconds, including 1:43 on the penalty kill. And he finished 15th in the NHL in plus-minus, top 10 in the league in face-off wins, and face-off winning percentage. So, what do you think? He's a finalist for the record 9 straight seasons. So he has 4 Selke wins in his career. It's tied for most in NHL history with Bob Gainey of the 70s Canadiens.
I think that Patrice Bergeron takes really short shifts. He has the shortest amount of shifts in his team.
He led the Bruins in shifts.
So he takes really short shifts, even though he only had a little over 18 minutes of ice time.
So?
Anyways. Yeah. If he won the award, nobody would be surprised. He's won it 4 times in his career, and he's 36, 35?
34.
Oh. But yeah, and he had 56 points in 61 games, so he was solid this year if he wins it.
He was better defensively this year than I originally was giving him credit for. High in the plus-minus category, and as I said before, I don't put too much stock in that, but when you're at a plus 23, you have to be doing something right.
Or just be playing on the right team.
And then also, he's playing a good amount of minutes on the penalty kill, high face-off winning percentage, and high amount of face-off wins. So, yeah, I think he's definitely a good option. Next is Sean Couturier, who won 59.6% of his face-offs, who actually only one Flyers recorded a higher total, Eric Lindros in 97-98 and then 98-99. Surprisingly, I never knew Lindros was a face-off demon. Couturier was consistent, literally everywhere on the ice. As I said, 59.5% of his face-offs in the defensive zone, 60.4% in the neutral zone, and 59.1% in the offensive zone. No other player topped 58% in all 3 zones. So he's kind of making it a lot for his face-off acumen, but he also had a plus 21 rating on while pacing team forwards in both total time on ice and shorthanded time on ice. So I feel like he doesn't have as strong a case as Bergeron does. Bergeron had the face-off, but he also had the plus-minus. He had the penalty kill minutes.
So does he. He leads his team in shorthanded time on ice. Not to mention he has almost as much plus minus as Bergeron, but he plays less time. But he plays on the worst team.
I don't think that's really relevant in this case because the Flyers were really good this year. Like both of these coaches, as we said, were nominated for the Jack Adams Trophy. Both the Flyers and Bruins coach, so both of them obviously did a good job. And then Ryan O'Reilly, who's coming back to defend his Selke title, led the NHL in face-off victories for the third consecutive season. He also topped the league in percentage of teams' faceoffs taken. He took 38.7% of the Blues faceoffs, while ranking 10th in winning percentage. He finished 7th in the league with 69 takeaways while only taking 5 minor penalties. And he finished 10th among NHL forwards in total playing time. That's tough. I feel like for me, it's between Bergeron and O'Reilly.
I think I'm going to go with Couturier.
Oh, okay. I think for this one, it's either O'Reilly's faceoffs, which I think he has a stronger case for in terms of faceoffs than Bergeron. Takeaways, I put a lot of stock in the takeaways. I feel like they're really key. He seems to have taken less penalties, finished 10th in among NHL forwards in ice time. So I'm going to go with O'Reilly, defends his title. So, alright, so that's our Selke. He picks Couturier, I pick O'Reilly. Next, we will move on to, what shall we move? Which awards should I move on to? We should do the Norris now. Okay, so the finalists for the Norris are John Carlson, Victor Hedman, and Roman Josi. Now, when I first saw this, Josiah and I were both, the first thing we thought was they're missing Alex Pietrangelo. And it's really tough. Obviously, John Carlson was, he was on fire this year. He was, especially at the start of the season, he led defensemen in assists over the course of the year with 60, and then 75 points. And then also tied his high with 15 goals in just 69 games for the Capitals. So he was on pace to get well over a point per game, similar to what Burns did 2 years ago with 83. He averaged 1.09 points per game to become the first NHL defenseman since Ray Bourque, Sergei Zubov, and Al MacInnis in 93-94 to average more than 1 point per game a season. So that's pretty impressive. He averaged 24 minutes, 38 seconds of ice time per game. He led NHL defensemen in game-winning goals and was second in power play points. He also had a plus 12 rating and 108 blocked shots. So
he was good defensively and amazing offensively.
So early on, he was an obvious candidate. If he had been left out, it would have been just wow. Hedman finished third among defensemen with 55 points, 11 goals, 44 assists in 66 games. So he liked to do double numbers: 11 goals, 44 assists, 55 points in 66 games. He was a plus 27, which was fourth among defensemen, 98 blocked shots, and 47 takeaways. He averaged 24 minutes and 4 seconds of ice time a game. So I don't think that's as strong a case as Carlson. We were looking at the numbers. Pietrangelo's almost equal in terms of the goals, assists, and points and such. Pietrangelo's slightly below, but he's better, I think, in the more the hidden stats, if you will. So it's really tough whether it should be Pietrangelo or Hedman, but anyway, these are what we got. Right now, I'd say Carlson's higher than Hedman. Anyway, Roman Josi set NHL career highs in goals, 16, and assists, 49 for 65 points for the Predators, ranking second among defensemen in each category. He finished third in the league in average ice time, 25 minutes, 47 seconds, 23 power play points, 108 block shots, and a plus 22 rating in 69 games. He would actually be the first Predator to win the award, surprisingly, with how strong defensively, how strong defensemen Preds have had.
I think Yoshi wins the award, actually.
Yeah, looking at it, I think Roman Yossi's the play here. Second in every offensive category. I think better defensively than John Carlson.
Not only that, but look at I'm looking at the plus.
Look
22.
at who they were playing with too.
But look at the plus 22 when Roman Yoshi was playing on a really bad team, or not a really bad team necessarily, but a team that really
not a strong scoring team either.
They let in a lot of goals, and he still had a plus 22, which is great. Good is right with Hedman and things.
Right. So I'm gonna do Roman Yossi here. Okay, so for the Bill Masterton, is next. We got Stephen Jones, Oscar Lindblom, and Bobby Ryan. So Stephen Jones made his season debut for the Stars on January 18th after missing 22 months because of post-traumatic headaches. He developed the headaches during training camp, and so he could not play in 2018-19, and missed the first 47 games this season. So, apparently, so he had these traumatic headaches, and they kept him off the ice, and so he was really trying to work hard throughout this entire time to get back on the ice. I think he's a strong candidate. Bobby Ryan, I think it's I'm pretty sure if you can name one of these guys and ask a regular fan to know what they went through, then Bobby Ryan would most likely be the guy that they know. He went through. He had some issues with addiction. And so he had to go to a rehab place. And when he came back, he scored a hat trick in his first game against the Vancouver Canucks. So, I think he's a strong candidate. Anytime that you're beating an addiction, like Robin Lehner was Bill Masterton last year after beating his addiction, I think he's a strong candidate. And then Oscar Lindblom for the Philadelphia Flyers was diagnosed with Ewing's sarcoma, a rare form of bone cancer, on December 13th, 2019. So, I think that's tough. Lindblom had 18 points in 30 games at the time. Sorry.
Yeah, but it'll probably be either Bobby Ryan or Lindblom. I don't think that Stephen Jones will be the winner.
Right.
I think that Lindblom or Bobby Ryan will win.
That's fair. I think Oscar Lindblom will win the Masterton Trophy here.
Probably because of cancer.
Right. I can cut this out, you idiot. Go away. We're recording. Okay, so our next award is the Vezina Trophy. Connor Hellebuyck for the Jets, Tuukka Rask for the Bruins, and Andrei Vasilevskiy for the Lightning are the three finalists. Early thoughts are Hellebuyck should most definitely be winning this award. So let's start with him.
Second in voting is Rask, I think, and Vasilevskiy is a third. And should be a distant, but I don't know.
Thought that it's arguable that Markstrom the Canucks is deserving of Vasi's spot. Again, the Canucks allowed the second worst shot total per game, 31. And Markstrom stayed strong through it all, and basically led the Canucks to the play-in round. I feel like Markstrom's the Canucks MVP for sure. So I thought Markstrom should have been finalist, but anyway, we'll work with what we got here, I guess. So Hallebuck played more than 50 games for the Jets this year. Second in wins, 7th in save percentage, .922, and 31 wins. He was 31, 21, and 5 with a 2.57 goals against average when the NHL season was paused. The runner-up for the Vezina Trophy as well in 17-18. He would actually be the first goalie in Jets Thrashers history to win the award. I feel like what they're not mentioning, though, is just how strong a workload Hallebuck had to go through. Playing a ton of games. Didn't really have, like, a really solid backup to soar to. Like, Lauren Brossois is okay, but
not really.
Not a great backup, right? No. So Hallebuck was kind of on his own. Defensively, the Jets, as we know, were depleted, especially last summer when they lost Myers, Bufflin, and Trouba, and then Ben Sherrod as well. So that really depleted their decor and led to Hallebuck being forced this year to be really dominant. Next is Tuukka Rask for the Bruins. He finished the season 26, 8-6 for the Bruins, and along with Yaroslav Halak, his backup, the Bruins won the Jennings Trophy for fewest goals in the NHL. He led the league with a 2.12 goals against average, tied for second in the NHL with 5 shutouts, and was second in save percentage, .929.
Who had a better save percentage than that?
He allowed 2 or fewer goals in 27 of his 41 games, and began the season with a 20-game point streak on home ice, 14-0-6. And he's won the Vezina Trophy before in 2013-14. I think he has a strong case. I think the problem with that is that we're never going to be able to say, oh, Rask did like a great. He never saved his team. He never had to. I think they won the Jennings Trophy as much for their great defense as they did for their goalie. I think Rask deserves to be on here, but I think for that reason, Rask just can't win.
Interesting.
Vasilevsky won the Vezina last season, and he's a finalist for the 3rd straight year. So the fact that he's been nominated like 3 straight times in a row is pretty impressive. 35-14-3 record, led the NHL in wins. 21-game point streak from December 17th to February 15th. 2.56 goals against average, .917 save percentage, and 3 shutouts for the Lightning. So the deal is with this one, the stats aren't as impressive as Rask and Hallebuck. Like, look at the save percentage. Rask had a .929 save percentage.
922 save percentage, and Vasilevsky had a 917.
So Hallebuck had a .922 save percentage. Rask had a .929 save percentage, and then Vasi has a .917 save percentage. So out of the 3, his save percentage is far and away behind. And that's played on a really good team, too. Goals against average is far behind the others as well.
Maybe not Hallebuck.
I think the issue with this is he got on here, I feel like, for his wins total. He led the NHL with 35, which would have been a good total even without the season being shortened. But if it hadn't been, he would have gotten, like, maybe 45 wins or something.
Probably 40. Because he doesn't play every game, and there's only 11 games left for them, or something like that.
13, and yeah, he does play just about every game.
Oh, maybe.
So, anyway, the Lightning, I think it's mostly due to his wins more than his personal stats. For that reason, I don't think he's going to win either. So, Hallebuck, not on a strong team, amazing stats, basically had to hold up the defensive end on his own. Rask, really great personal stats, unfortunately, playing on a great team, which I think will lower down his number of votes enough that he won't win. And then Vasilevsky, kind of same thing, but in the opposite direction. He just had a great team, and it kind of carried his win total up, which led to him being nominated as a finalist, even though his stats probably don't show that he necessarily deserves it. So for those reasons, I think Hallebuck's going to win.
Yeah, I think you're right. Hellbuck is kind of, I think, will win unless Rask wins. So it'll either be Hellbuck or Rask.
Okay. Okay, so let's move on here to the next award, the Ted Lindsay Award. We're just kind of doing the random ones that we find. Okay, next we have the Lady Byng Trophy. For this award, we have McKinnon, Matthews, and O'Reilly. It is given to the player that best shows sportsmanship. So let's start with McKinnon. McKinnon ranked 5th in the NHL with 93 points in 69 games, 43 points more than the next closest teammate, Cale Makar, and leading the Avalanche into the playoffs for the third consecutive season. He was top 10 in the league in power play points, assists, power play goals, and power play assists, and topping the NHL in shots on goal. And he did all this registering a career-low 12 penalty minutes. Just 6 penalties the entire year.
Minors, or maybe
the second fewest among the league's top 25 scorers. So, and no other forward averaged more time on ice while taking fewer penalties. So,
okay, so he's good.
Strong candidate there. He would be the first Avalanche/Hornets player in history to win the award. Okay, and then next candidate is Austin Matthews, who finished third in the NHL with a career-high 47 goals. One behind the Rocket Richard co-winners Alex Ovechkin and David Pastrnak. He topped the Leafs with 80 points in 70 games, and he ranked in the top 10 in the league in shots on goal and power play goals, while also establishing just 8 penalty minutes, tied for the fewest among the NHL's top 100 scorers. He shared second place in the league in takeaways and ranked 8th among NHL forwards in time on ice, with 1,467 minutes and 52 seconds total. And that's also personal best for him. So, strong, really strong candidate, I feel like. I feel like McKinnon might get the slight edge for me early on here. But that's so with Ryan O'Reilly here. So Ryan O'Reilly led the Blues with 61 points in 71 games. He topped the NHL in both faceoff wins and faceoffs taken, as we mentioned in the Southie debate. That's receiving just 5 minor penalties, so 10 penalty minutes. He ranked 7th in the league in takeaways and 10th among forwards in total time on ice. So, what do you think?
I mean, if Nathan McKinnon won the award, and then he won the Hart Trophy, and then he won the Ted Lindsay Trophy, I mean, it could be a cool awards thing. It seems like close. I don't know. I mean, Matthews and probably maybe Matthews for me, I think.
Okay, I'm gonna give the slight edge to McKinnon.
Okay.
Okay, moving on to the next award. Here we will move on to Ted Lindsay. So the Ted Lindsay finalists are Leon Draisaitl, Nathan McKinnon, and Artemi Panarin, who I believe are the same finalists for the Hart Trophy.
Yes.
So I guess we could just discuss them both at the same time.
Sure.
So Ted Lindsay is the best player in the NHL as voted on by the players. And then the Hart Trophy is the most valuable, voted on by the NHL. So there are 2 different awards, and it's always been a big debate. The best versus just, most valuable. I feel like out of these 3, Draisaitl was the best, and either Panarin or McKinnon was the most valuable, early on here. Let's see, the stats changed my mind. They changed my mind. So Draisaitl led the league with 110 points, first in points per game in the NHL with 1.55. He also led the NHL in assists and power play points, and was first among forwards in points in time on ice. Tied for first in game-winning goals with David Pastrnak, and was second in even strength points, 66, and then 16 power play goals. 33 multi-point games as well.
1 point in at least 56 out of 71 games.
I don't know how that proved. Like, this is a Ted Lindsay page, so I don't know why why they're saying stats that don't prove how valuable it is. They're just proving how good he was this year. So if that's the case, then they don't really have any stats that prove how valuable he was this year. I think you can't. I don't think you can give him like the Hart Trophy. Like he'll win the Ted Lindsay Trophy.
I think so. Yeah.
Like I feel like he'll win the Ted Lindsay Trophy. Like comparing their stats, Draisaitl beat them in goals, beat them in assists, beat them in points, and on time and ice he led them as well. So I feel like just on pure just stats this year, like best player, Draisaitl has to win. So we've decided who wins the Ted Lindsay as voted on, but of course you can't really guess who the players are going to vote, but you can usually take a decent guess. So for the Hart Trophy though, McKinnon got 35 goals, 58 assists, and 93 points, playing 21 minutes and 13 seconds per game. This is not with great line mates at all. Rantanen and Landeskog were out both like half the year. And as we said, McKinnon finished 43 points ahead of the Nets' closest teammate, Makar, proving that really he didn't have all that much help, and obviously he was playing a ton, even though Draisaitl played more. And then the case for Panarin, he was playing with Ryan Strome and Jesper Fast on a decent but not great Rangers team, who probably would not have made it without him. 3 less goals, 32, 5 more assists, 63, and so he got 95 points, 20 minutes, 36 minutes playing per game. So, and Panarin doesn't have that same margin between him and the Nets' closest teammate, because Zibanejad was played like a first liner this year, right?
Hmm.
So he got 70 something points.
Not to mention 41 goals, and he only played 50 something games.
So it's really tough. Panarin wasn't playing with Zibanejad, which is the main reason why I originally kind of discounted him. I thought he was playing with the best line mates, because Draisaitl was playing with Yamamoto and
Hopkins or Ennis.
Or Hopkins or Ennis. So
if it was Hopkins, so it
not super strong line mates. McKinnon, at best, for about half the year would have been playing with Burakovsky, who's a good player but not a great player.
Or when Landeskog and Rantanen were
and then Panarin, as we know, elevated Ryan Strome's play to the point that he got 65 points this year. So I feel like given one or the other, this one's really tough for me, honestly. I feel like neither team would have made the playoffs without these players. The Rangers definitely wouldn't have made it without Panarin, and I don't think the Avalanche would have made it without McKinnon this year. I feel like in a normal year, with Rantanen and Landeskog healthy the entire year, Makar emerging this year, Avalanche probably could have made it without McKinnon, but not with Rantanen and Landeskog out half the year.
Oilers wouldn't have made the playoffs without Draisaitl either. If we're being honest, both the team is.
That's harder to say because
how they have made the playoffs.
They have McDavid,
and he was McDavid.
Draisaitl had over 100 points last year.
Yeah, they both had over 100 points.
And he didn't lead them to the playoffs. So
if they didn't have Draisaitl,
Draisaitl had 3 more points this year, and suddenly they make the playoffs. So obviously Draisaitl didn't provide that much more of a difference.
He has 5 more points, not to mention in a lot less games, and also playing without McDavid this time. So it was a much more impressive season.
Okay. I still think the Oilers make it, because they got Bear, McDavid, Nuge, Cassian.
No, they don't.
Still, they have Yamamoto. Yes, they do have those players.
No, they do, but I don't think they make the playoffs without him.
Alright.
Oh, whatever.
Well, I'm going to give the edge here to McKinnon. More time on ice, more goals. So, I'm going to give the edge to McKinnon. 29 multi-point games and was a plus 13. So, and also the Avalanche did better in the regular season. So,
that's fair.
I'm going to go with McKinnon.
I'm not sure. I think they're all even. I want to say Draisaitl, but I'm not sure. It's kind of close. It's kind of tough. I think they're all about equal. I think that it's between McKinnon and Draisaitl. And Panarin's kind of the distant.
The idea is that you have to pick one.
He's not distant, but I don't really. McKinnon or Draisaitl. I think Panarin gets close, but he doesn't finish. I think it's between the two of them.
Alright, so I'm pretty sure we've covered all the awards. Let me double check again. Do you think we have?
I'm trying to think.
Let's see here. I'm just going to double check here just to make sure that we didn't miss any awards.
No, I think you're right.
I'm pretty sure we got them all. Yeah.
Alright.
Yeah, we got them all. Alright, moving on to our last topic of the day. We got Seattle Kraken releasing their name and kind of brand. So I was super excited about this. I watched it live on Facebook from the NHL. And things have been moving pretty fast since then. Seattle Kraken gear has already been released. They released their jerseys, their logo, and obviously their name. Their logo, I love their logo. It's an S standing for Seattle, and then a serpent flying alongside of it. I think it's supposed to be an octopus tentacle, because that's what a kraken is, like some sort of octopus. I don't love the name, the Kraken.
No.
We would have kind of preferred a different name. I would have done like either Sockeyes or Emeralds.
I personally would have taken like Stingrays or Stingers or something.
So, I don't love the name. I feel like the logo and the jersey definitely make up for it. It's kind of hard to explain the jersey. It's the logo, obviously, in the middle with a navy blue, and then like other shades of blue along the shoulders with a white, with a red as well.
A red line. And then on the shoulders, you have anchor, like the...
Their secondary logo, the anchor. So and then their word is like a Seattle drawn like in a rainbow shape, and then Kraken like across the middle. So after the first logo, it's kind of lame. I feel like there were better logos made by like the public, but this one does look more professional, more modern. And if you guys see my top 50 jerseys of all time video, which I'll be releasing soon, then I'm sure you'll see what I mean then. So early thoughts on that. I probably, for most games, I think that I'll be cheering for the Kraken. It obviously also depends on which players I get too, right? But early on, alright, so the next question is, how strong do you think this team will be early on in their lifetime as an NHL team?
So hard because you don't know what they're getting. It's hard. How can you make predictions when you don't even know what their team is going to look like, right?
I think Seattle will be pretty strong. I don't think the GMs are quite used to the new expansion format. They've only had one go at it with Vegas, and look at how that turned out. There's still lots of particularly goalie logjams. Like Pittsburgh could get plucked from again in terms of goalie, like either Murray or Jari. They could also be traded as well, obviously, but
they should probably trade Murray, to be honest.
But there are tons of teams in the NHL that have platoons and that kind of thing, and I feel it will lead to kind of a repeat of having Fleury as your starter, and then maybe this time Seattle might be able to grab a better backup than Vegas had for their first few years.
Mm-hmm.
So I think just goaltending alone, defensemen too, because you can only protect three or 10 skaters, so you could protect more. So I feel like a team like Carolina is going to expose a really good defenseman that they can pick up, whether it's Jake Gardiner or Hayden Fleury or Joel Edmondson. I feel like Slavin and Hamilton are the only safe defensemen on Carolina
and probably
from the expansion draft, if none of them are traded, that is.
And Brett Pesce, probably.
Yeah, probably Brett Pesce as well. So I think forwards, just like with Vegas, I think will be the weakest because that's position I think where you have the least amount of surplus, and yet you're able to keep the most of them. 7 forwards, or again 10 staters, so you could keep like 8 or 9, and like just 1 or 2.
I think that if the Leafs don't trade away somebody, they're going to lose a better forward, like a pretty good forward, like a Kapanen.
Yeah, and it's guys like the Leafs or the Lightning too would be a strong team like Seattle. If they picked up a guy like Alex Killorn, it would be helping the Lightning. It would also be helping themselves by taking a pretty good player when they can afford to take on his cap hit, while the Lightning cannot, because they can never afford anything. The Coyotes have one of the worst cap situations in the league, so they could be exposing someone decent as well. Like Darcy Kemper and Antti Raanta, like if they don't trade one of those guys, then Seattle's going to be able to pick up a pretty good goalie.
Probably Raanta though.
Yeah, it would be Raanta, but like he's a solid like backup too. You play him as a backup. You can play him as like a kind of a 1A kind of starter guy. So I feel like overall, the Seattle could be a pretty strong team. Probably not as strong as Vegas. I don't see Cup final or anything.
No,
but
that's pretty hard.
But I do see, I do see playoffs.
Again, I don't really feel like I want to make any predictions because I don't know what Russia's gonna make it. But
that's the idea of predictions.
Yeah, I guess I don't know. We'll see.
It's interesting here seeing some of the Public's like logos that they expected to. I feel like when a Public makes them, for some reason they're not professional, even if they were made with like professional level stuff like Photoshop. But this logo in particular looks really professional. I like it. The secondary logos are just okay. It kind of looks like they spent all their time working on their main logo, and then they just kind of forgot they needed a secondary one. So they just decided to get a picture of an anchor, right, and then just get like a lame kind of name thing. I don't think their alternate jerseys are going to look very good with those secondary logos. I don't think they'll look very strong on a jersey. But that's just my opinion. So, anyway, guys, that'll do it for this podcast. I hope that you enjoyed it, and we will see you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye.